Hello everyone, it's time to tune up that band and get ready for another sweet Chinwag, sweet chinterview as part of our Being Proud series. This week we are joined by Rebel Kinney. Rebel Kinney is a wrestler who has made her name known through her unapologetic sense of being who she is and staying true to that Psycho Dyke name. You may know her from her appearances in Pro Wrestling Eve, which we will be speaking about, and also her forays into the podcasting world with Film Queory, which we will get to talking about later. We hope you enjoy. Hello and welcome, and thank you so much for joining us, Rebel. We are so happy to have you here with us.
It's an absolute pleasure, my darling.
So we will starting off as we have with every other episode here. We first want to ask, what does it mean for you to represent the LGBT plus community in wrestling?
So I'd say it's incredibly important. Can I swear? That's probably a good point.
Yes, you can.
Fantastic.
As much as you are comfortable with.
Oh, I'm beyond fucking comfortable. So obviously through the years, there's been such a lack of diversity in wrestling and so few queers. And I'd say it's really, really fucking important that we're now having so many come through. And for myself specifically being a butch lesbian, like for the longest time, I don't think I knew any other butch lesbians in pro wrestling, even if there are that many now, I'd say.
Yeah.
And, you know, there have been even a few times where I've gotten emails from fans who like thank me that they're finally able to see someone that looks like them whenever they watch wrestling. So I'm very aware that, you know, I have a few things I need to make sure that I get right and, yeah, really make sure that I'm doing my best for my own community.
Yeah, so many other people that we spoke to said like that importance of having that connection with those people and, you know, having that moment of someone, you know, messaging you or coming to you after a show or something saying like, you know, I don't get to see myself, but then seeing you there is so important to them.
No, absolutely. And even there's been a few entrances where I've ended up coming out and making out with one of my partners in the front row. And that always gets a reaction, despite, you know, you're always seeing love triangles in wrestling and, you know, the guys making out with their valet and Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth and everything like that. But then to see a woman kissing another woman like so openly with, you know, no shame or vulnerability on that. Like, I know that something that is so small for me, you know, I'm literally kissing my girlfriend. But, you know, I know in many instances, I might be the first one doing that on these shows. So I know that, you know, I'm even in ways I intend to or ways I'm doing it on purpose, I'm, you know, doing something, I guess.
Yeah, and that is obviously super important. It's amazing for other people to see, and just to be there. And like I said, so many people having that opportunity to flip things on their head and present a different side to it that maybe other people don't get to see or they haven't had the chance to see, let alone in wrestling.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And I mean, I've even had people say that they even see aspects of me in the old 90s wrestler of Val Venus, which...
That must be an odd comparison for you.
A very odd comparison, particularly considering what he's turned into in recent times. But
yes.
I mean, even that I wouldn't say necessarily connects greatly beyond the fact that I'm attracted to women and I don't hide that fact. But I guess because there isn't anything to compare it to, Val Venus is, you know, the best I get sometimes.
Yeah, they just get like the thing that they think fits closest.
Exactly. So in the minds of some, I get to be the lesbian Val Venus. So lucky me.
That's certainly one hell of a title to hold.
Yeah, you know, leading lesbian of Lucha, the Psycho Dyke, the lesbian Val Venus, you know. These are the crosses I must bear.
How far or at all, if you think it has, do you think wrestling has allowed you to explore your identity, or the way that you present yourself and your identity?
I'd say with wrestling, there have definitely been instances where people would rather I not be as open as I am.
Yeah.
But through my look and everything about myself, lesbian tattooed on the knuckles and queer tattooed on my chest, I've just made a point that to take the option away from them of doing that. If someone decides, actually, Rebel, you're now heterosexual, like that's just not going to work in any way, shape, or form. It just isn't going to
happen.
No, but even with my first ever match, I made a point of getting gear that showed off my queer tattoo. So the second I came out of the entranceway, that's the first thing everyone sees. So they immediately know, oh, we now have lesbians in wrestling. And the longer I have been around, the more opportunities I'm finding where people might want to bring me in, not in spite of being a lesbian, but sometimes because of it. And whether in some cases that's because they want me to make them look good because, it can view that they're doing all this things for the queer community, or it's they want me to shine and not hide that fact about myself. I do think that's amazing and not something I thought would be an option when I first started out.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first started out, the only queer person I knew was Visage in wrestling, who I know presently they use they, them pronouns, but as far as I knew when I met them, the only person I had to look to within the only job I'd ever wanted was a gay man.
Yeah.
So, I was trying to enter into a world that I didn't know if there was actually a space for me in it yet. So I kind of had to just make space whether they wanted me to or not.
No, absolutely. We spoke to other people before about that thing of making the space for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have framed it as like being the change you want to see and things like that. But I was saying this is me, I'm here, this is my space as well.
Yes, exactly that. I like to think I'm very unapologetic in many things I do and make everything about myself immediately upfront and clear. And I'd rather they decide instantly that they don't like it instead of finding out down the line of, oh, she's all these things. But no, just straight immediately, this is me. Fuck you if you don't like it.
Absolutely. We've spoken to people before about how people have brought them in and then it's almost been like, can you try and hide it?
Mm-hmm.
But that isn't an option for you at all. And I don't think you would ever let it be an option.
Oh no, not even a little bit. I mean, before people even see the tattoos or anything, they immediately know I'm a lesbian. Like, I'm a walking stereotype, let's be honest with ourselves. No one looks at this and does not think butch lesbian.
That's the best bit though, when you don't have to hide it, when you don't have to, there is no guessing involved. You are you, and that is clear by the way that you carry yourself.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been in the closet, and I just wanted to remove that option for all of my future life. Just, I'm out, not going back in. It's a physical impossibility. The closet has been shattered with a hammer.
Absolutely, and that is so amazing to know. So then I want to ask next, one thing that's pretty interesting for me is I want to ask about some of your experiences with Pro Wrestling Eve. For those that don't know Eve, it's a pretty much all female and inclusive and non-binary as well wrestling company based in London. And I want to ask just some of your experiences working with them and how that's been for you as part of your career.
I'd say with Eve, they were kind of my first option when I was training way, way, way back before I actually got to debut or anything, where for the first time I did see somewhere that I could be that might let me shine and might let me kind of venture the way that I want and need to go down to. Which even when I was originally training, I just continued to keep thinking like, I'm not a diva. That's not happening. I don't fit that mold, and no one wants me to fit that mold. So where the fuck do I go? You know, where does this work out for me at all? And then by chance, I just found all of these DVDs of Shimmer, Chick Fight, and Pro Wrestling Eve, and quietly snuck them out of my training school and told no one, and then just brought them back and swapped other DVDs for those, and just kind of went through all of them, getting my own little education out of those. And from that point forward, it was just, right, that's where I need to end up. That's where I've got to go to. So when I ended up moving up to Nottingham and having the opportunity to take all my training seriously and everything, my goal was always to get back to London and get with Eve, you know, or do whatever I needed to in Nottingham or elsewhere to end up there eventually.
Yeah.
And then by chance, they started running a training school. And I'd seen this a few days before the first one. And I just immediately booked my tickets and got straight down there. I was the first at the door, first in, shaking all the hands, getting everyone's name, doing literally everything I could to show the people there that, you know, even if I'm still incredibly green and in lot to learn, you know, there's things you can do with me, and this is where I need to be. And I had been told after that first training session that when Dan and Emily went home, so the promoters of Eve then, they were talking about the impact that I'd made, like just from kind of how I took up space in there,
yeah,
and the values that I kind of share with the company, and that, yeah, eventually down the line I need to get in there. So once I got that foot in the door, moved myself the fuck back to London.
Yep.
Training all the fucking time, then eventually running it. I say running, so me and Greg Burridge and Rhea O'Reilly, we would do the training quite often. And they brought in Shevolution, which was kind of like shows for women they want on Eve, but maybe need a bit more seasoning first.
Yeah.
And that was where I got my chance to wrestle the phenomenal and wonderfully queer and unfortunately retired Chris Wolf. And I'll be honest, I've watched that match back since. It's fucking horrendous on my part. Like, at the time, I was very much, do I deserve this? And in hindsight, no, I fucking didn't. Like, oh, Jesus Christ, there's stuff in that match that I've not done since nor will ever do again. Like, so much of it was just off. And the fact that they, you know, eventually they put me on the second one and then they put me on Pro Wrestling Eve properly. Like, how the fuck did I pull that off? Whose twat was I licking to get that one? But yeah, that itself was just a phenomenal match, learning everything from Chris, just kind of being under that tree and learning all these things. And that was my 10th match. Yeah, that was my 10th match against Chris under the Eve banner. Some fucking how. And I'd kind of give myself a 3-year window wherein I would make it Eve. And I've done it in my first year simply off of, you know, first, second and third impressions. And here I am with this incredible woman who, fuck me, did she give me so many chances to collaborate and put my words forward and what we could do in this match to kind of, well, essentially she just wanted me to look amazing.
Yeah.
And that included torpedoing her from the ring and taking out half the crowd. Which, fun fact, I'd never done that before in or outside of a match. So that was...
There's a first for everything.
There is. In similar fashion, on the next Shevolution, where I was against Rhea O'Reilly, that was the first time I took a superplex from the top rope. So, yeah, I'm very much, oh, you're a person I like. You want to do a thing that I've never done? Let's do it.
Let's just try and see how it goes. Exactly.
The worst thing that will happen is I don't get up again. And who doesn't love a nice little sleep?
You just say, like, I'm going to take a nice little rest on the mat for a moment now.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's kind of the early stages of me and Eve, really. And I would say from there, I mean, I've loved every match I've been in. You know, I've kind of had ups and downs and goods and bads and things I definitely wish I'd have done better, and maybe even one or two matches I would rather not have been due to my own actions within those matches, you know, mental health being what it is for me. You know, I'm not the Psycho Dyke for nothing. Bipolar is a horrendous part of me, but it's there forever.
Yeah.
But I would say overall, I am where I wanted to be and doing what I really wanted to do. You know, almost 2 years away from wrestling aside, of course. But being able to be part of Chris Wolf's retirement match, like, that is incredible that she wanted me to be part of that. And
I was going to say, that must have been huge for you, especially with her being one of your early matches in Eve.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And knowing that it was her that wanted me there. But so just prior to getting booked for that, I was booked for a Battle Pro show the same day.
Yeah.
And they kind of started maybe an hour apart or something. So then I was trying to work out, can I even make it to both of these? And because the Battle Pro one had come earlier and it would be my debut for them with Pro Wrestling Eve, that Chris Wolf show being my second one for Eve.
Yeah.
It was very much like, I can't lose out on one option to take this incredible, yeah. As much as I want to be part of one, I can't risk parts of my career by saying no to something. So that day I went to Battle Pro, got myself ready, did the match, did everything I needed to, sprinted to a train from the other end of London, doing a gigantic journey while frantically on my phone, talking to Dan Reed at Eve, who's telling me that the show's already on. Like, they're going through the matches. What I have no idea what my original role was meant to be earlier in the night, whether there was one or not. But on my way there, I was told I was too late.
Yeah. And
they'd had to take me off the card because, you know, by the time I get there, the show's really going to be finished. So I'm fucking destroyed at this. Like,
yeah.
I wanted to be there for this, and I knew how important this was for so many reasons. And in my street clothes, I get through the door as Chris Wolf does her entrance for the last match, which at the very least, I knew that I would be part of the gauntlet.
Yeah.
And I'm just, maybe if I'd have gotten here 10, 20 minutes earlier, they could have fit me in, but nope, I fucked it. And I get upstairs, feeling like shit, but still excited to see everything I'm about to watch. And Dan just, maybe as like a commiseration, puts me on commentary. And I figure, okay, I'm still part of something, so we'll just go with this. However, no one told the sound guy that I wasn't there. So when my moments went to the match happened, my music hits. At which point Dan is telling everyone on commentary that I'm not in the building, despite the fact I am talking alongside him on commentary. And he's shitting himself, I'm shitting myself. I think, well, Chris Wolf might be a little bit because she knows I'm not there. And my second show, I'm about to become, the biggest arsehole in the room because my music plays and I'm not fucking there.
Yeah.
On a retirement show. So I've just, gone from, one of the most potentially popular people to the biggest bitch in the room. And then in my street clothes, I get to go down to the ring and have all of about 10 seconds, if that, all because no one told the sound guy that I wasn't there. And had I been even 2 minutes late, it wouldn't have happened. It's just one of those weird moments that just by chance, everything goes wrong for long enough for it to go right.
Everything just happened in such a way that this weird little situation came about.
Exactly. And yeah, like, that's going to stick for me. But there's definitely one match that will always stand out, to the point that if I had to retire tomorrow or in the next minute for whatever reason, is kind of the thing I always wanted to do, and I can always say I've done it, regardless of what happens going forwards. And that is sharing the ring with Jazz. And I never want to belittle any of the women that were in the WWE or WWF during, the Divas era.
Yeah.
Because fuck me, did those women go through some horrendous shit.
Yeah, they did.
Yes, shit that I would never do, and I know many of the women around today have said they could never do what they've done. Regardless of what you want to say about wrestling, lack of wrestling or ability or skill or anything, like, fuck me, did they pay their dues going in fucking gravy and water and mud and every other bit of bollocks. And I'm sure various bits of bollocks, because it's Vince McMahon, so why not?
Who knows?
As you can tell, I have no intention of ever getting hired there. So, as if they would hire me, let's be honest.
Yeah. It's all right. They're not hiring us anytime soon.
I'm sure you've been giving them glowing reviews on all of these.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
Shit, where was I?
Sharing the ring with Jazz.
That was it. Yes, thank you. I'm glad you're keeping me on track. So yeah, when I was watching back then, wanting to be a wrestler and everything, but not knowing where the fuck I fit in, along comes Jazz, this huge, empowered, strong woman who just fucking annihilates people and just has a presence that no one else has in wrestling that I've seen. And I think I've said this multiple times elsewhere all the time, is before I found Shimmer, Chick Fight, Pro Wrestling Eve and all of those, Jazz was the one who kind of was like the light at the end of the tunnel of, okay, that's what I can do. That's the avenue I can try and go down.
Yeah.
I can see where the fuck she kind of, what she did to get where she was and what places wanted her and maybe they'll want me, and I can kind of go down that journey because that's what I wanted to be doing. And in similar fashion to Chris Wolf, that match very nearly didn't happen, and by all accounts was never intended to. That was simply due to the She Won event, which is a weekend tournament.
Yeah.
There were just multiple injuries that night. I believe it was Nicole Savoy that I filled in for on the second night for that, after she took an injury, and I got to fill in for her. And then on the last show of that weekend, I came down from the locker rooms, and there on the board, I see my name next to Jazz. That's my first inkling that I'm going to be sharing a ring with Jazz. Like, I've met her that night, and that was really like, fuck, I've met Jazz. I could have been at my 9 to 5 right now, but instead I called in sick.
Yeah.
And then I will let you know, after She Won, I then checked my phone, found out I got sacked from my 9 to 5 job because I'd called in sick in order to go to this.
On the show.
Exactly. With no idea that I would be in the ring with Jazz, just like, oh, big fucking booking that I really want to be part of. And I know Jazz is there and I can meet her and, pick her brains a little bit. And that'll be enough. I'll sleep well for the next month. But no, getting to share the ring with her. I don't think there has been a moment in my career that has made me so positively emotional. Like, I have a picture at the end of us hugging, and even though you can see her face, you can see my back, but I know for a fact I am crying buckets at that moment. Like, that, I've always said being a wrestler was my dream job, but having that is like the pinnacle of that dream job.
Having that is like the dream moment. Exactly.
Like, not unless by chance I wrestle her one-on-one, or, you know, we go into a big feud, there's nothing that I can envision peaking that moment. Like, that's it. Regardless of any money or opportunity I could ever get in the future,
nothing's going to match that moment.
No, absolutely not. Like, that's absolutely it. I couldn't ever ask or want anything else. So anything else that comes to me in wrestling, you know, it's not even the cherry on the cake or the icing or anything. It's like the spoon, essentially. Yeah. You know, if you're hungry, you'll ram the food in your face, but spoon, fantastic, that helps. So yeah, that's kind of my big career moment, and all thanks to Pro Wrestling Eve, really.
It's just amazing to hear about the moments like that for people's careers.
I do remember on the earlier show, when I filled in for Nicole Savoy, I wrestled Giselle Shaw in what I would say is, at that point, was one of my best matches. I'm really proud of it. And I remember that very well the next day, because I had Giselle's handprint on my face and chest for a solid while. Just a great way to remember her by. But after that, I got back in the locker room, you know, still high off the match and everything.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if it was Dan Reed or Rhea O'Reilly, but one of them told me, I want to say it was Rhea, because I will say quickly, Rhea is amazing and is someone that's always had my back in the locker room, and she's brilliant.
No, we're huge fans of Rhea O'Reilly.
Mm-hmm. No, she's phenomenal. She told me that Jazz had watched my match, and, you know, I need to go find her, because by all accounts she enjoyed it and she has some feedback to give me. And outside of, you know, the go-to handshake when I got to the building, this would be my first proper interaction with Jazz, who has watched my match and knows that I exist.
That's like, a very surreal moment.
Yes. Like, you know, some of my matches I've been made aware that, you know, big companies know that I exist and have seen it and everything, but that I don't particularly care if someone in WWE has watched a match of mine or has or hasn't or whatever. But knowing that literally my hero and the reason for me doing what I'm doing has seen my match, seen it live, enjoys it, and wants to talk to me about it, that's fucking mind-blowing. Like, when I was training, or even when I got my first match, I never thought I'd do that. You know, maybe I'd get a couple of matches a year or one a month or whatever, but I wouldn't get there. And, you know, it's always going to stick with me that she says she loved my attitude and, you know, loved the voice that I have when I'm out there and what I'm saying and what I'm doing, and then the little tips and everything she gave me. Like, yeah, that's a night that will always be there.
How do you think wrestling is becoming a more queer-friendly space?
I would say, whether it's been taken kicking or screaming, I don't think it has much of a choice anymore. I mean, queer fans have always been there, whether they were able to be vocal or not, or whether they would be able to be out or not. But we've always been there, and we're not, due to the change in society, the way society has been forced to change as well, you know, we're not letting ourselves be quiet anymore. And I mean, even outside of queer terms, everything that happened with Kofi Kingston or Daniel Bryan, the fans, if you say it loud enough what you want, they have no option but to give in eventually. And I would definitely say with queer fans and queer workers, we're there. They can fucking use us. They know where to find us. And if they want to stay current and keep building, and particularly after, the speaking out movement, everything that's happening, then they'd be fucking stupid not to make use of us now. And when there's more and more of us that are coming out and no longer being afraid, like, why would you ever stand against that? You're risking more. I would say previously you would risk more hiring queer wrestlers. Yeah. Now you'd risk more not hiring them.
I think that's an amazing way of putting it.
Yeah. Like, whereas before it would be, you'd have to take a stand not to hire one, or, it's, yeah, we're part of wrestling and we're only getting stronger and louder. Yeah. And I know, like, with Pride Pro Wrestling, who are going to be putting on their big show next year in the summer at London Pride, as far as I know, unless that changes.
I believe that's the plan.
Yes. Which, they were going to do that last year and they were going to do that this year, but obviously due to everything, that didn't quite happen. But, that's going to be such a huge thing. And even if there are places and people that want to ignore that we exist, you can't when something as big as that is happening.
Yeah.
So you either jump on the bandwagon, drive the bandwagon, or fall off and get the fuck run over.
There's enough of us to do an entire show, so it's kind of hard to ignore.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm training others or when I'm, training myself, there's queers everywhere in various schools that I'm in. So, you either let wrestling die or you fucking train us and put us, because it's either us or no one.
Absolutely. So then just finally, what is your message for anyone that is out there, watching, listening, that thinks that they wouldn't be welcome in wrestling?
I mean, first, I would say what I always say to anything, which is anywhere that doesn't want me somewhere can go fuck itself. And I happily tell that to many people on a daily basis,
Yeah.
It's, don't want me, fantastic, bye. I'm not going to play up to any of that bollocks. I'm not going to change myself, and I don't think anyone should. I mean, unless, you're an intolerant toss or whatever, that's its own thing.
Yeah.
Of course, But yeah, if you are queer or trans and generally not being cis, non-binary, lesbian, gay, even including if you're just not white, you need to fucking make that space if it isn't there for you. And I fucking promise you, there are people who will always have your back, whether they are people like you, which, you've fucking got me and so many more of us around. If there's some tosser in wrestling that doesn't want a queer person around, I will happily take their fucking head off. Because I will never be the quiet person in the back. And realistically, I don't think queer people ever have been. We fucking stonewall, we threw bricks at fuckers. We fight against laws when people are trying to put us in prison.
Yeah.
When so many trans people get murdered, we fucking march and we argue and we fight our case, and that is what we should always do. Yeah, there's always going to be risks, but there's always going to be rewards when people fucking take action.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would say I've lost a lot from being as out as I am, or even out at all. I don't think it's any secret that I have no contact with my family and never will again, because they refuse to have a lesbian in their midst. But equally, where I am now in my life, after all that shit I've gone through, I would not change that bollocks for anything. Like, my life is fucking amazing right now. I'm not going to lie to anyone. You know, pandemic aside, and the fact that I've not gotten to have a match in a while, that's all coming back. But everything else in my life is phenomenal. And always, whenever someone says, don't be you, tell them to fuck off and get rid of them. Whoever they are.
Yeah.
Because again, if I'm willing to get rid of my own mother, what fucking chance does anyone else have, really? And I will say this, though, if anyone ever does come to me, if you have a shitty family, I will tell you way in advance now, if you do not want the answer of tell them to go fuck themselves, I am not the woman to DM. Because that will always be my response.
Yep.
Just fucking be you, and love, fuck, and be around who you want to be around.
That's a message we can get behind.
Or if you're me, literally fuck everyone that is happy to join you.
There you go. The secret and the key to life.
Yeah, just be a very vocal dyke. That's the way of the future.
As we said with this entire series, be loud, be proud.
Mm-hmm.
We are so thankful for you joining us. It's been such an enjoyable talk.
No, it's been great. I'm glad to have been on.
And it's always just so amazing for us being able to, and for myself, being able to talk with more amazing LGBT plus people in wrestling, and especially someone who is unashamedly you as you are.
And I always intend to be that.
Just quickly before we go, where can everyone find you?
So you can find me on Twitter at RebelGirlPK, on Instagram at Rebel Kinney. In both instances, girl is GRRL. And I also have a podcast called Film Queory, which is at Film Queory everywhere, spelled Queory. Yes, it's a fucking weird one, where we talk about queer films, queer cinema, and everything in between. Myself and my co-host, Lee.
Amazing. We will put all of those in the lovely description below for you to find.